21, 22, 23, 17, primarily on the ordinance that we put together concerning solar. It's broken up into 3 sections. The first time because of definitions. The original definition took in wind farms and as renewable energy and even to having a number of other things. And so in order to make it a little bit cleaner, we broke out solar. The second part is on the solar itself and renewable energy and the different types, so that we could define solar for not only a large wind farm, a large farm, but also if somebody wanted to put in standalone solar on their property. And so, with that, we took and we created multiple levels for the solar. This primarily was created, or the reasons for it were, the first is that the solar farm was put together over on Industrial Road. At that time, there were no ordinances whatsoever, and it was kind of funny that the gentleman that I talked to was the engineer, sort of laughed at us. We went in there and talked to us how we snuck this in on the city, and that was their attitude. It was funny that we had a local engineer was the engineer for that project. Second is that we came to the planning board last year, was for a solar farm up off of Pleasant Street, and it's on the other side of the power lines, and it's way down in a fairly wooded area. But because the zoning for rural residential required a special permit, it came to the planning board. And we didn't have a ordinance for it, so what we did was we looked at 4 or 5 other cities and towns, picked off sections of that solar and what they had for solar, and then had it put on the drawing as conditions of the special permit. I'm just trying to give you a growth of how this came about. And then we knew that there were a number of other cases that weren't taken care of by that. We didn't want to do that for each time. So with the up and coming, we knew there was going to be more solar in the area, a lot of solar on industrial, that we had to account for, solar in homes, standalone solar, and the solar farms. So that's when we put the whole package together. Again, looked to a number of other towns, Palmer and Springfield and Marion and Franklin, and looked at all this, took bits and pieces, and spent quite a bit of time coming up with a package that you have. Now, I just wanted to let you know, give you a little background. I realize the hearing is on the 12th, we'll have for that, but I just wanted to be here and make myself available if anybody had any questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, John. The next person is Pat Scorzelli.
Good evening, Pat Scorzelli, 78 Maple Avenue, Leominster, Massachusetts. I'm here to speak on 2817. It's been a long road. Prime Wellness has finally received all of its permits at the state level. As you know, this council granted us a letter of non-opposition. The next step is the special permit. So the mayor's office has the host agreement and has had that for a while to discuss, I guess, with the city solicitor. And as soon as our next step would be, given regular course tonight, would be a public hearing, and I look forward to working with all of you councilors. I know this is an important step, and especially with the recent legislation that's just passed, that everybody's clear about what can be done, what can't be done, and how we're going to proceed. But this clearly is a medical marijuana dispensary which will be built, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Bill Mitchell.
I just wanted to be here tonight in support of the 15 Carter Street property. Bill Mitchell, I'm the chief assessor for the
Is the
city.
microphone on?
It's on.
It might be unplugged.
I
Is it
could hear
unplugged?
John.
It was unplugged a while back.
Let's see.
Oh, that's good. I think you did
How's
fine.
that?
Oh, wow, now we're
That's
ready.
all I can.
Woo.
Start over. I'm Bill Mitchell, I'm the chief assessor for the city. I'm here tonight just in support of the 15 Carter Street proposed purchase. We've provided a summary valuation for you to look over, as well as a letter of explanation regarding why we're looking at this property. Mr. Coggins is here tonight as well, and so are the property owners, just in case you have any information that needs clarification. I can point out that no official appraisal was done on the property because the average assessed value of the property, the purchase price did not exceed 125% of the average assessed value of the property over the last 3 years. So an appraisal wasn't required. Over the past several years, we've utilized part of that property to park on for additional parking as well. We've had a good relationship with the Deshanos to do that. However, they approached us to put the property on the market to allow the city first dibs, so to speak, on that to expand the parking down there at EMA. So we're just here to support any questions you have and give you additional information regarding that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, that is all that is signed up, so I will ask, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? Once again, is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? And for the third and final time, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I declare the public forum closed. Councilor Bedanta, since we have a few minutes before we start, I understand that you want to present somebody with a certificate, and then this individual is going to help to lead us into the pledge. So if you want to do that.
Yes, Mr. President. I would ask that Joseph Cardinal and his parents, Jim and Donna, come in and join us. Mr. President and other members of the council, we have Jim and Donna Cardinal with their son, Joseph Anthony Cardinal, who has attained the rank of Eagle Scout. I asked him to come in this morning, this evening rather, to present him with the certificate that we all signed, as well as to have us, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Just a little bit of biography on Joseph Cardinal. He's a Leominster High School student. He's a member of the National Honor Society. He's also a member of the marching band as well as the jazz band. And as a sophomore in the jazz band, won the Woody Herman Jazz Award, which is quite prestigious. Also, his Eagle Service Project involved updating the veterans' web pages as part of the City of Leominster's official website. And that work included adding biographies for all of the soldiers in Leominster that made the supreme sacrifice from the Spanish-American War all the way up to the present, adding many pictures and memorials, preparing a spreadsheet that locates all of the memorial bricks at Carter Park, and adding all of the veterans' names, street names that the city has created over the last several years to those web pages. So congratulations, Joseph. It was a great work, and we appreciate all your efforts on behalf of the city of Leominster, and I'm sure that the council joins me in those congratulations. And we have a certificate here for you.
Very nice.
And best wishes in the future.
Hard work.
In a few minutes we officially start the meeting, we'll ask you to lead us in that pledge, okay? All right, what do you have planned for this year? You sound like an ambitious young man. You must have a few projects that in your sights.
Still doing band,
Yeah.
school, getting ready for college.
It's enough.
You making applications, I suppose, at this point? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Just trying to keep Barry Hudson happy.
Well, a lot of them are online now, right? They don't fill them out anymore. They do them all online, right? The applications to
applications.
colleges, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit easier. You still have to do the essay.
Yes, you do.
I'm not sure you have a lot to talk about.
What instrument do you play in the band, Joe?
I play bass guitar in the jazz band, as well as the marching band during the football season. And then for any other marching band event, I play the cymbals.
Nice.
Nice. Jazz band, amazing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Kids do a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you do the symbols like when they do the Star Spangled Banner?
Yes.
Actually, I was watching you at on Veterans Day, and you know it really makes a big impression. Those symbols in that song.
Yeah.
It does.
So I was watching you doing that, and I was like, you know, boy, without him, that wouldn't be the same. So I appreciated it.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
You're a great inspiration to the two great parents that you have. It shows that you've been brought up right and proper, and it's a pleasure to have you down here. A number of years I was involved with the Boy Scouts, becoming Eagle Scouts when you go for your interviews. And the last few years I haven't been involved in it, but it's such a pleasure when you see someone that does something that's right and does it on his own without having to get the shoe behind them all the time. So,
Well, there was a little shoe. That's what mothers do, they're the shoe.
well, you've done a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
A nice picture of
Yeah, it is a nice picture.
halftime.
Going to the dinner on Thursday?
A lot of kids, I know, that
Yeah,
would love to
yeah,
do what you
Apple-
have done, but you have the courage and
Apple Hill
conviction
Farm,
to
what I
keep
call
going.
it.
And a lot
Yeah,
of kids
that'd be
do
nice.
a lot of scouting because of sometimes some of the bullying that takes place. You know, you're a scout, you know, you're not on the football team, you're not on the wrestling team, but you stayed the course and you're gonna be great as an adult. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Everybody's proud of you, those kids are proud of you too.
Thank you.
Big team.
TV timeout?
What's that?
TV timeout?
Commercial break.
Okay, the regular meeting of the City Council for November 28th of 2016 will now come to order. Will you all please stand and join us for a salute to the flag, and Joe will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Joe. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you.
I will now take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Councilor Frida. Councilor Dombrowski. Present. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Feckley.
Present.
Councilor Bedanza.
Present?
Councilor Lanciani.
Present.
Councilor Nichol.
Present.
Councilor Marchian.
Present.
And I am present. All 9 members are present this evening. Does the Vice President have any records to approve?
Yes. Yes, Mr. President, I have records for November 14th, 2016. I reviewed them, find them to be in order, and recommend they be placed on file.
Okay, the Vice President is recommending that we place on file the City Council minutes for November 14th of 2016. Is there any questions or comments on those? If not, those will be placed on file, and we will move right into communications, beginning with C-33. Madam Clerk?
C-33, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the City Council set a hearing for the classification of the tax rate on December 12, 2016, for the purpose of setting the fiscal year 17 tax rate.
And C-33 will be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course with a hearing date of December 12, 2016 at 6:25 p.m.
Okay, C-33 will be given regular course, and we need to establish a hearing for December 12th of 2016 at 6:25 p.m. All those in favor of establishing that hearing, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, that hearing has been established. C-34.
C-34, relative to the appropriation of $28,000 to the Fire Department Capital Outlay Expense Account, same to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund.
C-34 will be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President. Regular course, please.
C-34 has been given regular course. C-35.
C-35, relative to the appropriation of $588,000 to the Millfield Capital Outlay Expense Account, same to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund.
C-35 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President. First time on the calendar. Regular course, please.
Okay, C-35 has been given regular course. C-36.
C-36, relative to the appropriation of $50,000 to the Economic Development Expense Account, same to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund.
And C-36 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President. Regular course, please.
C-36 has been given regular course. C-37.
C-37, relative to the appropriation of $2,000 to the Police Department overtime account, same to be transferred from the Disability Parking Fines Reserved for Appropriations account.
And C-37 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
And regular course for C-37 as well, please.
C-37 has been given regular course. And at this time, we have an emergency preamble to address as C-38. Madam Clerk, if you want to read that first.
Dear members of the City Council, I hereby respectfully request that the following order be considered to have an emergency preamble as required under the provisions of Section 3-9B of the City of Leominster Charter. I respectfully request, pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40, Section 15A and 4, that the City Council transfer the care, custody, and control of the Twin Cities Rail Trail Corridor to the mayor for purpose of conveyance, and to authorize the mayor to convey in said property on such terms and conditions and for such consideration as the mayor may deem appropriate. On October 24th, the City Council approved $342,101 for the rail trail project. For legal purposes, additional language is necessary for the actual conveyance of the land. This is the same language used in the past land purchases. I am asking for an emergency preamble in this matter since the closing is December 16th, and we need to get all documents completed and submitted well before the closing date. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office anytime. Sincerely, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor.
Okay, so we first need to take a vote to accept this as an emergency preamble. Is there any discussion on the emergency? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting C-38 as an emergency preamble, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-1, C-38 is accepted as an emergency. And C-38 will be referred to the chairwoman of city property.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. We'll give this regular course, but I would also like to ask the mayor to come down to our next meeting I just have a few questions about this and just need some clarification.
Well, Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, if I may, the mayor's looking for a vote this evening,
Yeah.
so that they can get the paperwork rolling. That's why it's on here as an emergency.
They want to close on December 16th, based on.
Right.
If we wait till the 12th, you won't be able to get the paperwork completed. time to close. So, I mean, we have to ratify it on the 12th. So to me, it would be appropriate to move it forward this evening. And then if we have some questions, we can certainly have them come down on the 12th and ask whatever questions we have about it when we vote to ratify what we did tonight. I just hate to see them lose I mean, this may jeopardize the whole closing.
Okay, we're getting into a discussion here.
Well, it's a committee. They're on the same committee. And we've already accepted it as an emergency, so.
I'm not in a position to move forward with it. I have questions. I really do. I don't understand the purpose of conveyance and to authorize the mayor to convey said property. I mean, the rail trail is not property that can be conveyed to anybody.
Well, what's happening is, as I understand it, is
Right.
the railroad is conveying to us.
Correct.
And then I assume what would happen is, then we're dedicating this land for the purposes of the rail trail corridor.
Councilor Frida, you're also on the committee. Would you like to weigh in at all? You're the third member of the committee. You're the third member of the committee if you'd like to weigh in as well and do some subcommittee work.
I understand the other two members of the committee weren't here at the last meeting, and I think that when the mayor came down and had a discussion, or we had some discussion about the rail trail. And the conveyance was for the grant, I believe. So, but I understand, you're the chairperson. If you have questions, I'm fine with whatever you go with.
Yeah, the language is just, I have questions about the language. We were here for the meeting prior when the presentation was made about the rail trail, and I don't remember this coming up at all. So this was received by the clerk's office today? No, last week. I don't know, recently anyways. So this is the first I've seen it. And I do have questions. The language is just confusing to me, because the way that I've read this, it sounds like we would be authorizing the mayor to convey said property. I mean, we're not conveying anything.
Well, with all due respect, I guess maybe it's a minority report, but my position would be to move forward on it. Again, it has to be ratified. If there's some lingering questions, we can always have the mayor answer those when the vote's ratified. I'd like to see the thing move forward. I don't want to jeopardize the grant. We were told that night that our total costs in relation to this was what we passed that evening. And I understand your position, but with all respect, I guess I'd either be in the minority or depending on what the other member of our committee wants to do. I'd like to see the thing move forward.
I think the only other option is if the city council chooses not to move forward tonight, then we're probably going to have a special meeting.
Yeah, that's what I
next
thought.
week,
That's what I think.
Very early next
Yep.
week, probably maybe by next Monday, because
That's what I think.
I know that this is time sensitive, so.
That would be my recommendation.
That's what's going to happen.
Councilor Frida, do you have a recommendation? Do you have a recommendation on this?
Well, it's actually Councilor Feckley, who's the third member.
Yeah, I didn't think I was on that.
No.
That's
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Sorry.
My eyes dilated this morning, I apologize.
It's okay.
Not a problem.
City property?
Right.
No, it's
Frida.
city property is Councilor
It's Frida.
Shelf Zephyr, Councilor Bedienza, and Councilor Frida.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. Sorry.
Now you're back on.
I thought it was me, I had my eyes dilated.
I was on it
this
for a
morning, so
while.
I didn't-
What is your recommendation, through the chair?
My recommendation would be further time.
I don't disagree, but I don't want to jeopardize the grant and the whole, I think this has been going on for a long time to have this rail trail, and I'm a little concerned that we'd be holding it up and jeopardizing the grant. This room was filled with cooperation by two communities.
Absolutely, no, and I agree in support of the $342,000 for the project. I just think this particular language and what we're actually voting on is not clear to me.
Well, I think the mayor was going to be the person in charge, so he has to have the conveyance of the land, is the way I understand it. I mean, I don't have too many more details than that. I know. I'm just worried about jeopardizing that grant. That's my concern.
So it sounds like the committee wants to
Great.
move forward and grant.
Is that Councilor Frida's position?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so you've heard the recommendation of the City Property Committee to grant C-38. Is there any discussion? Councilor Dombrowski.
Yeah, I understand the chairperson's concerns, but I think those concerns can be addressed at the ratification. I think there's a practical problem. There's a lot of approvals that need to be gotten for that closing to take place. There's a lot of people in the chain of command, and the railroad is not an easy entity to deal with, and to get everybody in a conference room to do a closing for something like this, there's a lot of schedules that have to come into play. But I understand the concerns, but I think this is a project that really could change the face of the city for the better. So I just, I think we really do need to go forward. So I strongly am adopting that position.
Okay. Councilor Martian?
Mr. President, I believe there's a typo on C-38. If I can address it, suggest an amendment.
Sure.
And the last sentence says, for such consideration as the mayor may deem appropriation. It sounds like it should be appropriate.
I agree.
Okay? So
Mine says
I make a motion to amend the petition to read as such.
Okay, so you've heard the motion to
I get it,
amend
yeah.
the word appropriation to say appropriate. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Bedanza. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-38 has been amended. Councilor Martian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I usually don't go against the wishes of a chairperson, and we didn't get this until last Wednesday with the City Hall closing Thursday, Friday. However, for my position, I understand the mayor's in the driver's seat on this. I want it. I think the majority of the council, if not all of us, want it. It's a great thing. I don't want to clog up the process, and as the large councilor across from me, Councilor Dombrowski, indicated, we are going to ratify it. So at that point, maybe if there's any questions, maybe we can bring the mayor down at that point. I don't want to compromise the time process, and I don't want to be down here next Monday night, a special meeting on this either.
Okay. All right. Councilor Nichol.
Yes, I am in favor of moving forward tonight. The reason is, I know I dealt with a constituent who was trying to get some property from the railroad. It took him years before he finally got an agreement, and just as they had come to an agreement, the railroad was sold to another railroad, the track. So he had to start all over again and added more time to it. So I think this really is time sensitive in that respect. I know how long it takes to deal with them. And, essentially, if we come back 2 weeks from now and we used to ratify the vote, then it pretty much kills whatever has happened, from that point on. So I hope to see the committee recommend that we grant this tonight with that amendment.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Feckley.
When I first saw this, my immediate impression was this was an oversight, that this was something that probably should have been included in the vote last time. So I, again, usually would go with the recommendation of the chair, and if I was on the committee, I maybe would have, but, the more I think about it and the more I read, I think it wouldn't do us any harm to move forward with it tonight and then be able to ask the questions of the mayor at the ratification. Again, it is just something my husband said about the railroad doesn't sell anything. Just this week just makes me think that what Councilor Nichol just said could absolutely be a scenario that would come up. So I would be in support of moving forward with this tonight.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-38, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-1, C-38 has been granted. Okay, moving on to petitions 26-17, Madam Clerk.
2617, Roger Brooks Jr., amend section 21-11.1, water user rate schedule as follows. Effective 12/1/16, raise the in-town water rate from $3.48 per unit to $3.67 per unit. Effective 4/1/18, raise the in-town water rate from $3.67 per unit to $3.78 per unit. Effective 12/1/16, raise the outside the city rate from $4.48 per unit to $4.75 per unit. Effective 4/1/18, raise the outside the city rate from $4.75 per unit to $4.89 per unit.
Okay, 26-17 will be referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, with a referral to the mayor's office and the water and sewer department at the DPW. And if we could just have a special note to include some data for rate changes in similarly sized communities the last 3 to 5 years. If we could get some info on that.
Okay. All right, so 26-17 will be given regular course with a referral to the mayor as well as the DPW, the Water and Sewer Division, and the Madam Clerk will request that information from other similar
Through the
sized.
chair,
Yes?
should we have Roger Brooks come in?
Oh, yeah. We should have them come down.
Okay. We can vote on that under new business at the end of the meeting, have them come down, maybe give it an explanation and how it'll affect the average ratepayer and things like that.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to 27-17.
2717 should be Roger Brooks Jr., amend section 2122.3 sewer user rate schedule as follows. Effective 12/1/16, raise the in-town sewer rate from $3.97 per unit to $4.09 per unit. Effective 4/1/18, raise the in-town sewer rate from $4.09 per unit to $4.21 per unit. Effective 12/1/16, raise the outside city rate from $8.12 per unit to $8.36 per unit. Effective 4/1/18, raise the outside city rate from $8.36 per unit to $8.61 per unit. Effective 12/1/16, raise the intermunicipal rate from $4.57 per unit to $4.71 per unit. Effective 4/1/18, raise the intermunicipal rate from $4.71 per unit to $4.85 per unit.
Okay, and 27-17 will be referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, first time on the calendar, regular course, also with referrals to the mayor's office and the water and sewer department of the DPW. And we could also request similar data from Mr. Brooks, and we're going to have to, as Councilor Frieda pointed out, we're going to have to bring him down for this one as well.
Okay, so 27-17 has been given regular course with a referral to the mayor as well as the water and sewer division of the DPW. And moving on to 28-17.
2817, Prime Wellness Centers Incorporated. Grant a special permit for the use of a new building for the purpose of a medical marijuana dispensary on Lock Drive.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, do you have a conflict?
Yes, I represent the landlord for this particular facility, so I would abstain and ask that it be referred to the clerk.
Okay, so 28-17 will be referred to Councilor Frieda as the Clerk of Legal Affairs.
First time on the agenda, the regular course with referrals to the planning department, planning board as well, conservation, board of health, DPW, building inspector, economic development director, and also to Copeland and Page to see if they have any sample special permit that we could, guidelines that we could follow. We also need to establish a hearing for January 9th, 2017 at 7 o'clock.
Okay, so 28-17 has been given regular course with a referral to the Planning Department, the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, the Board of Health, the DPW, Building Inspector, the Economic Development Coordinator, as well as Copman and Page. And we're going to establish a hearing on January 9th, 2017 at 7 p.m. Okay, all those in favor, yeah, Councilor Marchand.
May I, through the chair, suggest for consideration also the police department and fire department as well? Thank you very much, appreciate that.
Okay, so we will also refer this to the police department and the fire department. All those in favor of establishing the hearing on January 9th of 2017 at 7 p.m., please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, the hearing has been established. And moving on to appointments, Madam Clerk.
National Grid. Skip
Oh,
one.
sorry, 29-17.
2917 National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated, Country Lane. Install one jointly owned pole on Country Lane in front of house number 102.
Okay, and 29-17, the Chairman of Public Service.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a regular course, and I would move that we establish a hearing date of December 12th, 2016 at 6:20.
Okay, 29-17 has been given regular course, and we will be taking a vote to establish a hearing on December 12th of 2016 at 6:20 p.m. And I will be abstaining from this vote due to conflict of interest or due to my employer's code of business conduct. All those in favor of establishing this hearing, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, 29-17 has been granted a hearing on December 12th at 6:20 p.m. Now, moving on to appointments.
Appointments, Office of Emergency Management, Admin Unit, John Carroll.
Okay, this appointment will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, first time on the agenda, and we will ask Mr. Carroll to come down for an interview.
Okay, so this appointment has been given regular course, and we will ask this individual to come down for an interview before our next meeting. Moving on to the next appointment of the Council on Aging.
Council on Aging, Maria Moldari, term to expire April 15th, 2019.
And this is also referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Again, Mr. President, first time on the agenda, regular course. We will ask Ms. Maldari to come before the council for an interview.
Okay, this also has been given regular course, and we will ask this individual also to come down for an interview before our next meeting. Moving on to matters before the City Council under Legal Affairs, petition 1-17. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am. Petition 117, President's Committee on City Ordinance Review, requests that Chapter 14, Section 14-8 be deleted and replaced with a new Section 14-8 entitled Noise Control Ordinance. We had a subcommittee meeting tonight, and we heard from the drafters of the new petition, the new ordinance rather. It's very comprehensive and detailed, so we're going to ask for further time. We need to review it and get our questions organized and any proposed amendments or modifications we may have.
Okay, and you had a subcommittee, and that was the recommendation.
Yes.
So you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 1-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 1-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 1-17 has been given further time. Moving on to 21-17, Mr. Chairman, you ready to report?
I am. 2117, Kristen Kelly on behalf of the Planning Board. Adopt a new zoning ordinance regarding the installation of solar energy. There is a hearing set for December 12, 2016 at 6:40 p.m., so we are required to give this further time.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 21-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 21-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 21-17 has been given further time. Moving on to 22-17.
Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 22-17, Kristen Kelly, on behalf of the Planning Board. Update the zoning ordinance table of uses to modify the applicability of energy systems, renewable, and to add 2 new uses, on-site solar system and on-site solar system. Likewise, there's a hearing set for December 12th, 2016 at 6:50 p.m. So we're required to give this further time.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 22-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 22-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 22-17 has been given further time. Moving on to 23-17, Mr. Chairman.
2317, Kristen Kelly, on behalf of the Planning Board, update the definition of energy system renewable and create definitions for solar energy system for on-site use and solar energy system for off-site use. There's a hearing set for December 12th, 2016 at 7:00 p.m., so we are required to give this further time.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 23-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 23-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 23-17 has been given further time. 24-17.
2417, Kristen Kelly, on behalf of the Planning Board, amend Section 22-62.3.7 of the Leominster zoning ordinances by removing the words, quote, "and always within the right-of-way," end quote. We have a hearing scheduled for December 12th, 2016 at 7:10 p.m., so we're required to give this further time.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 24-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 24-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 24-17 has been given further time. Moving on to 25-17, Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am. Officer Richard Shea, request a stop sign at the intersection of Winter Street at Walnut Street for operators traveling southbound on Winter Street. My recommendation would be to grant 2517. I just ask you to check with my committee.
Councilor Frida, all set? Councilor Marchand, all set? Okay, so the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee is unanimous to grant 25-17. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 25-17, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 25-17 has been granted. Moving on to the City of Leominster's financial report. Is the Chairman of Finance ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. We began the fiscal year with a balance in the stabilization account of $14,001,74.15. Through this evening, if we pass all of the communications proposed to be appropriated from the stabilization fund, as well as all of the communications given regular course this evening, proposed to be appropriated from the stabilization fund. Those appropriations will total $1,371,001, leaving potentially a balance in the stabilization account of $630,473.15.
12 million, not thousand.
I'm sorry. That's where I went
Yeah, where'd all the
bad.
money go? Where'd all the money go?
And that is the City of Leominster's financial report. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move right into items under Finance, C-27. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-27, relative to the appropriation of $180,000 to the Emergency Management Agency capital outlay expense account, same to be transferred from the stabilization fund. This relates to an abutting property to the Office of Emergency Management. We received some information from both the Office of Emergency Management as well as our Treasurer Collector, Mr. LaPlante, and our Assessor, Mr. Mitchell. indicating the value of the property proposed to be purchased, the nature of the purchase, and the reason behind the purchase. Apparently, the Office of Emergency Management has been, with the consent of the landowner, using a portion of this land for parking. The site there is very tight and very limited parking. The training center that has developed at the property has become popular. It's being used not only by city departments, including the police, fire, public works, and school departments, but also by other agencies, including the Mass State Police, the Mass Department of Fire Services, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, and some private parties as well. So it would seem to me, at least my position would be, and I'll check with my committee members, that this is an appropriate purchase given all of the good things that are happening at emergency management, the necessity for some additional parking space. And I'll just pull my committee and see what their positions are. Councilor Zephyr?
No, I support this.
And Councilor Nichol?
I have to admit, I have a little bit of a reservation. And before Duchesne's owned the property, it was a factory. Now, I don't know if it was plastics, if it was horn, if it was celluloid. And I actually happened to talk to Mitchell. We bumped into each other at the top of the stairs tonight. And I said something about it. He's like, he said, we never thought to ask about that. Based on the past history on 7th Street, and it came back to bite us, and the fact that we've got the factory that's on the other side of 7th, I must admit, I have concerns. But yet at the same time, I know the Duchesne's themselves, and I'm sure they would never have done anything in the years that they've had it that would have a negative effect on the property. I guess I just want to go on the record as saying I'm going to recommend that we do grant the communication, but I just wanted to go on the record that I expressed some reservations about not having a 21E done based on other experiences in the ward itself. So ultimately, the answer is yes, grant the communication. But as long as it's written down and I have note of it, then I'll be happy.
As a result, Mr. President, the unanimous recommendation of finance is to grant C-27.
Okay. So you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-27. Is there any discussion? Councilor Vedanta?
Yeah, I just say this in response to the Ward 2 Council's concerns. If there was a generation as a result of the activities down in that area, more than likely they would have come from industrial use, which of course we own. So if that was the case, we'd be owning this problem anyway at this point, because we're the landowner of the former factory. So I do note Councilor from Ward 2's concerns, and I appreciate his thoughtfulness in that regard, but I think they're mitigated, to me at least, by the fact that we would be responsible if that situation, unfortunately, were to rise its ugly head in any event. So I'm prepared to move forward.
Councilor Lanciani, did I see your hand as well?
Yes, thank you. Going back, emergency management was called civil defense. And I go back to those days as a volunteer and again as the person who ran emergency management, civil defense many years ago. And seeing what we have today when we purchased the potato chip factory, and to look at what the city of Leominster, the volunteers, and the taxpayer has put together is something that we can be very, very proud of. And I commend the emergency management director, volunteers, the people who become part of it, for using this building and seeing to it that this building is utilized. I've been there, I've seen things that have gone on, and I think that this is something that is needed. We all know that, and I appreciate the opportunity that the DeShanos have given to the city of Leominster to purchase their property. I think that it shows that they also have pride in the city of Leominster, and I commend them highly for that, and I congratulate the emergency management staff, anyone that's a volunteer for what they do for the city of Leominster. I support this wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Councilor Nichol.
I just want to say I'd like to keep this in the committee a little bit longer. As my friend to the left here, Councilor at Large, Jim, I can't be informal with him. But anyway, as he's mentioned all these different things, I too was a volunteer starting at high school age in 1966 and spent many an hour, many a night, and remember many a property that should never have been used essentially for civil defense volunteers. But with that, and I realize, you know, it really is a separate issue, factory, because we own it. But the other thing is, we've never, that I know of, dug in the ground to do foundation work or anything like that. We've worked on the building itself. The concern is that there might have been some runoff to the property. But I just want to bring that up. It's, you know, the group is near and dear to my heart. I appreciate all they did, but I think I just would feel more comfortable if, you know, on 21E had been, you know, done. You know, we didn't get this far into it without knowing. So with that, I still recommend granting. I just wanted to go on the record.
Okay, Councilor Marchand.
Mr. President, I respectfully ask for a recess.
Okay.
The director for the emergency management's in the audience, and we might be able to clear up a couple of concerns we have as a council.
Sure.
So a motion for a recess.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, so we have a motion, a second for recess. All those in favor? Okay, the council, by a vote of 9-0, the council now stands in
Even
recess.
to the microphone.
Mr. Coggins, would you like to come into the chambers and?
I told Bill Ashton it was a potato chip oil in the tank. Yeah, where's the name?
Thank you very much, Charlie, for being here this evening to,
Mr. President, after Mr. Coggins, I know that the channels here, they might be able to add some information too. So
Sure.
Mr. Coggins is done, if they feel comfortable speaking to us, you know, any
Yep.
information they can add, we'd like to get that side too.
Okay, so Councilor Marchand, do you have any questions?
Well, I guess
specifically,
it's
or-
just, the first one is just directed to what Charlie just heard, you know, some of the concerns, if you want to address that, and then, the only question I have is, what is your intent with the property? You're gonna fix the house up, you're gonna tear it down, you're gonna put more parking in to relieve the tension on the street when you're packed, especially during emergency times? So if you can just kind of fill us in a little bit on that, thank you.
Okay, well, first, to make you a little bit more comfortable on the hazardous materials. We had, when we purchased the property 11 years ago, we had 2 21Es conducted. One inside the building, borings were done through the garage floor to test that area, and also the surrounding area around the building. Actually, one boring was like 3 feet away from the boundary right now, where the old transformers used to exist, right at the front of the property. We had a 21E conducted, and there was negative, nothing was found, no carcinogens, no problems at all. So in regards to that, I think we're pretty safe. Regarding the use of the property, the training center has been a huge success for us, and we do need additional parking as a result of that. Our neighbors have been very good about it, but we moved into that property, I guess years ago, there were a lot of problems regarding the potato chips and the smoke and the stacks and so forth. Again, that's hearsay, I don't know that as fact.
That's
So it was
what's part of me, that
I
is the
bet.
process that made us all addicted to
Yeah.
try some potato chips.
The smell.
I'm there. So it was important when we purchased the property that we become good neighbors, and we have. I think if you checked with any of our neighbors, you'd find that, we've gone overboard to invite them into the building. We've had a couple of functions that we've invited them to, and they have an open invitation to come in and speak to me if there are any concerns or problems of the property. I'm on a first name basis with the neighbors. Good morning, Charlie, and good morning, Dave, and so forth. So that's worked out very well. And in terms of the use of the property, as I said, I don't like the idea of tearing property down, houses down, good property. But unfortunately, we're in a predicament here where we do need the additional parking. And we can gain quite a bit. Plus, as was mentioned earlier, the DeShano family has been very generous in terms of allowing us to use property for the last 11 years that we park a lot of our vehicles on. And this will allow us to gain that property. It'll now become our property to use and to use for the future. And we plan on, again, expanding to add at least 30 other parking spots on the property.
Okay. Councilor Frida.
I guess that was one of my questions as well, about leaving the house intact. Even if you could rent it for a couple of years and, possibly get some revenue back that would offset the loss in revenue for the taxes. You'd have the ability to arrange your parking whichever way you wanted to if you owned it. I would like to see that happen for a little bit, at least.
Well, that decision is not mine. That's up to the mayor to make that decision, how he wants to use the property. I do believe, in talking with him, that he indicated that he would like to offer the property to someone if they could move it for a reasonable price. That's an option too.
All right. Is there anybody else that has any Councilor Nichol?
That's another thing, because in the future, what we vote tonight means in the future, there'll probably be another appropriation to, do something with the property. But we'll deal with that when that time comes. I just want to add that Councilor Marchand mentioned I'm reluctant to use the word smell. I guess aroma would be better, because I can, would come up onto 5th Street, and if I got out of my car and got that aroma coming through, I would enjoy it. And just smelling it would want to make me go out and buy potato chips right on the spot. So, you're great neighbors.
Well, being a potato chip connoisseur, I have to agree with you.
So we are in recess. Does anybody have any questions? Charlie, Councilor Schaff-Effer?
Yeah, thank you. I just have a couple of quick ones. Charlie, when outside agencies come in and use the facility, do they pay a rental fee or any kind of fee associated with that use?
At this time, no. And the reason for that is that when, especially the state agencies come in, they provide training to Leominster public safety personnel or anyone else who wanted to take the training. So it makes it more convenient for city employees when they bring that training into town. So we don't, at this time, we don't charge. The few private people that have used it, we haven't charged them either. I mean, it might be something that we should look at in the future if this were to continue. The continued use of the building, and it continues to be, the training center continues to be successful, then maybe that might be something that we should consider.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a time frame for when the parking would be expanded and constructed, I guess?
No, I don't, Council. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but that is the plan to use that space for parking?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. So to follow up on what Councilor Nichols said, we will be seeing an appropriation for additional funding for
Yeah,
demolition.
Paving and paving.
Yeah, demolition and paving. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
is there any other questions for Charlie? Are we all set? Or what about the, anybody have any questions for the DeShanos?
And I, just one comment.
Sure.
It's a little different when you look over there to that door. That's where civil defense was many years ago. Here, we have something that's a beauty to the state and civil defense.
Okay. All set? Is there any
Just want
other?
to say, I remember that. I remember Phil Wright, and a lot of times his wife, Eileen, if I remember correctly, was her name, would be there and for emergencies and stuff. And this was what we came that we had to meet and talk a little about something. So yeah, it brings back memories, that's for sure.
Some of them were
While the
senior.
DeShanos are here, can we offer them some kind of a tip to get back in business in the city with those guys?
All right, Councilor Freed, do you have a question? for
I'm just
Charlie?
going to add to the Tri-Some story. My husband worked there all the time he was in high school. I can tell you when he got out, he didn't want to eat potato chips.
No, I bet.
Okay.
I bet.
I think, Charlie, I think we're all set. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for being
Thank you.
here this evening so we could ask these questions. Okay, so the council now stands back in session. Is there any other discussion on C-27? Okay, so Councilor Frida.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I'm the one that asked the question about the appraisal, obviously being in the business. And I did take the opportunity to go through a few comparable sales at work, and the price is right in the range for fair and equitable. So I'm comfortable with the amount.
Can I
Councilor Nichol?
just add one other thing? I want to say thanks to Bill Mitchell. He gave us quite a stack of information.
Yes,
And it's information, some of which
interesting.
we can use in the future ourselves as far as guidance when we have questions about things. So very comprehensive, and I mentioned that to him tonight. I just want to recognize the assessors for the work they did on this.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on C-27? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-27, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-27 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, ordered that the sum of $180,000 be appropriated to the Emergency Management Agency Capital Outlay Expense Account, same to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-27 has been adopted. Councilor Lanciani.
Someone had asked or mentioned about the Shanos being here. We just stand and give them a round of applause for offering this to the city and
Sure.
to say thank you.
Absolutely.
The Shano family
All
would
right,
like to
right
step
there.
forward. Thank you very much.
We're really close with the city all these years, so I wanted to make sure that we can keep this wonderful relationship going.
It's done a wonderful job.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Moving on to C-28, Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-28, relative to the appropriation of $60,000 to the Sanitation and Drainage Expense Account, same to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. This account started the fiscal year with a balance of $60,000. We have a letter dated November 1st, 2016 from the Director, Raymond Racine. We began this fiscal year with $60,000 and are now down to approximately $1,000. With the number of emergency issues we have with collapsing catch basins and old drain pipe, we hope that this amount will be enough to cover for the rest of the year. He's talking about the supplemental appropriation. This money is being used apparently to cover repairs to structures, sanitation and drainage structures, which has been a problem from the city. We had Mr. Racine come down here a number of months ago and talk to us about the condition of some of the culverts and other structures of this nature, that it would be my position to grant. I'll check with my committee members.
I'm supportive.
And Councilor Nichol?
Yeah, the good news is I have no questions about this one and the next, so we won't be into recesses or anything
So
by law.
the unanimous recommendation of Finance, Mr. President, is to grant C-28.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-28. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-28, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-28 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, in order that the sum of $60,000 be appropriated to the sanitation and drainage expense account, same to be transferred from the stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-28 has been adopted. Moving on to C-29.
C-29, relative to the appropriation of $80,000 to the landfill capping capital outlay expense account, same to be transferred from the stabilization fund. We have a letter dated November 9th from the mayor, which attaches a letter from the health director dated October 27th, discussing the old landfill on Mechanic Street. Apparently, there's been some erosion in one section that's going to require some repair. And this requires, before the repair work can be done, a updated engineering work. The work will also include some potential information relative to the marketing and development of the closed landfill for future purposes. The cost of that work is proposed at $74,000. And then there's some work that needs to be done on one of the monitoring wells, which has shown a small sampling of a contaminant, which the proposal is to ask the state for Mass DEP for a waiver on that particular monitoring well. The cost of that work is $6,000. My position on this would be to grant. I'll check with my committee members. Councilor Nichol?
All set.
So, Mr. President, the unanimous recommendation is to grant, finances to grant C-29.
Okay, if everybody's comfortable with this, I have Mr. Benavides is here, I assume, for this. So if everybody's comfortable, we can move forward, or we can ask for a recess for questions. All set? Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-29. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-29, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-29 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. Order that the sum of $80,000 be appropriated to the landfill capping capital outlay expense account, same to be transferred from the stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-29 has been adopted. Moving on to C-30.
C-30, relative to the appropriation of $40,000 to the library expense account, same to be transferred from the library state aid reserved for appropriation account. In order to qualify for state aid, the library needs to spend a certain amount of money on materials each year. The Board of Trustees voted to expend $197,850 for that purpose to maintain our position to obtain state aid. A portion of that money is made up by the fiscal year 17 municipal appropriation towards library materials of $145,850. There also is a portion from gifts and donations and friends money. And this amount, $40,000, is coming from an account which in fact receives the state aid. In her letter accompanying this communication dated November 3rd, the library director, Susan Shelton, points out that a city council vote is not required in order to make use of that state aid money, but they have historically sent it to us as a courtesy, keep us informed as to what's going on. And as a result, it would be my position, I guess we've done this historically as well, is to grant C-30, and I'll check with the committee members. Council Nichol?
Yeah, I agree.
So the unanimous recommendation of finance is to grant C-30.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-30. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-30, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-30 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, in order that the sum of $40,000 be appropriated to the library expense account, same to be transferred from the library state aid reserved for appropriation account. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-30 has been adopted. Moving on to C-31.
C-31, relative to the appropriation of $100,000 to the group insurance expense account, same to be raised by fiscal year 2017 revenue. I had a conversation with the comptroller today relative to this communication. This simply results from more people being in the system, and this money is necessary to pay our group insurance expenses. It is embedded in the budget, and my position would be to grant C-31. I'll check with my committee members.
I agree.
The unanimous recommendation, Mr. President, is to grant C-31.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-31. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-31, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-31 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, in order that the sum of $100,000 be appropriated to the group insurance expense account, same to be raised by fiscal year 2017 revenue. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-31 has been adopted. Moving on to items under public service, 17-16. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
Yes, I am. The good news is we got a letter from the DPW saying that they're all set with the project, which I knew already. But anyway, it's in writing, so you have that. The other thing is Ms. Kelly and our clerk have been busy dealing with the legalese with this, and there was concern about having to break things out separately, but it looks like things are moving along. So, and there was a site review done by the planning board, but they just haven't had it on their agenda at the last meeting. So anyway, with that, I'm going to recommend that we give this further time and see if within a couple of weeks we might have enough information, enough answers to get this all accepted. So I'll check with my committee, Council Beckman.
Yep.
And Council Dobrowski. Okay, unanimous recommendation from Public Service.
So you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Public Service Committee to give 17-16 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 17-16 has been given further time. Moving on to items under city property. C-32, is the chairwoman of city property ready to report?
Yes, I am. C-32, should I read the whole communication?
Yeah.
Okay. C-32, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Request authorization to acquire by purchase, gift, and/or eminent domain the parcel of land located at 15 Carter Street and described in a deed recorded by the Worcester Northern District Registry of Deeds in Book 2281, page 164, for general municipal purposes on such terms and conditions as the mayor deems appropriate. And as funding, therefore, raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, and/or borrow the sum of $179,900 for the purpose of said acquisition and costs related or incidental thereto. And further, to authorize the mayor to enter into any and all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary or convenient to accomplish the foregoing acquisition. It would be my recommendation as chair of city property to grant C-32, and I'll go to my members. Council Frida?
Yay.
Council Bedanza?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I do want to mention Mr. Mitchell's work on this. You made it,
Yes.
the thoroughness really makes this easy. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So the recommendation of city properties to grant C-32.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the City Property Committee to grant C-32. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-32, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-32 has been granted. Moving on to old business, we have nothing on the agenda. Is there any other old business? Councilor Dombrowski.
Yes, I just want to, if we could take a quick vote to bring Roger Brooks down
Okay.
on petitions 2617 and 2717.
Okay, so at this point, we will take a vote to bring Roger Brooks down so that he can explain the rate increases on 26-17 and 27-17. All those in favor of bringing Roger Brooks down before the next meeting, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0. We will, the city clerk will communicate with him to come down. Is there any other old business? Councilor Dombrowski, you have more?
Just, yeah, on the, now that the situation with Mr. Mulaney was resolved, I'd like to send a letter to the planning department, or the planning director, that we can get the actual zoning ordinance and the proper zoning maps, so that we can start utilizing them. My understanding is we don't have the complete package yet, so I'd just like to get that resolved.
Okay. Right, Madam Clerk, is that something you can maybe send a letter on? Okay, so the clerk will
Thank you.
send a letter on that. Anybody else have any other old business? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yeah, thank you very much. Through the chair to the finance chairman, we haven't scheduled, are you planning to schedule a finance committee meeting? And I'm asking specifically because of C-35. It's $588,000 appropriated from the stabilization to the Doylefield capital outlay expense. And there was a letter that accompanied the appropriation request, but it was pretty general. So for the $588,000, I'd like a really detailed plan as to what that's, you know, what the costs are and what the plan is on paper.
Well, we certainly can schedule a meeting. When you want to set that up for the next meeting?
At the next meeting?
Yeah.
Or before the next meeting?
Before the next meeting, because we'll be voting on it, won't we?
We have several hearings that night. You guys would be coming down here very early to have a
Yeah.
subcommittee meeting. Might not work.
Well, that'd be okay with me, but I'm also okay doing it another night. Perhaps the Wednesday before the meeting?
The 7th?
Yeah, the 7th.
I'm available that night.
All right. Let's see. I'll suggest a time.
6?
Okay.
That works, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll have a subcommittee meeting for Wednesday, December 7th at 6 p.m. for
6 p.m.
finance. Okay. All right, is there any other old Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yes.
6 and the 7th.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on the 7th.
On December 7th, which is Wednesday. I did want to just mention a meeting tomorrow night that Council Bedanza and I have both organized with neighbors from the Colonial Drive area up in back of the proposed new field complex at Leominster High School. So the meeting is tomorrow evening, Tuesday, the 29th, at 7 p.m. in room 10. The mayor's attending, as well as many neighbors, and the engineer will be there as well to answer questions. At our last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, there were many people here the night that we appropriated the funding that had some concerns over that. So anyways, there's an opportunity for them to ask questions tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Right.
Yep.
Good job. Okay, is there any other old business to come before the council? Councilor Dombrowski.
Yes, on the petition 1-17, the noise ordinance, I'm not going to schedule a subcommittee meeting just yet, but I'd like everybody, at least the 2 on my committee, Councilor Frieda and Councilor Marchand, just to read the proposed ordinance and get back to me with any amendments, modifications, or questions you have, and then I can pass them on to the authors of the petition, so that when we do have a subcommittee meeting, people will be informed.
Okay. All right, sure. Is there any other old business? Seeing none, is there any, we have new business. We have a resolution regarding the police station, and this will be referred to the chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, I will read the resolution for the council.
Well, at this point, it's going to be given regular course
Oh, okay.
for our rules, and you can read it at the next meeting.
Okay, regular course.
Okay. All right, so the resolution regarding the police station has been given regular course. Is there any other new business? Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
Yes, I would like to schedule a ordinance review subcommittee meeting, and I will go to Council Bedanza and Council Feckley. Would you both be available on the 7th? Could we do it on the 7th?
Makes
Yes.
sense.
Do you want to say
Yep.
7 o'clock? I don't know, 7 o'clock?
It's fine.
So I think
6:30?
6:30 should
Okay,
be good.
6:30 on the 7th. And in terms of detail about what we'd like to talk about, I have 3 things. Zoning changes, sex offender, we've been talking about sex offender ordinance, and construction projects. So those would be the 3.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, so we'll have a subcommittee meeting at 6:30 PM on December 7th of the President's Committee on City Ordinance Review. Okay, and I do have a piece of new business here as well. I got this in an email, and I'll forward it to the city clerk so that it'll be on file publicly. The mayor sent me an email today regarding a traffic alert on Route 12. Mass DOT will be regrinding and paving Route 12, which is Central Street, from Willard Street to Tossie Street this week. The plan is to regrind pavement on Thursday, December 1st, and/or Friday, December 2nd, between the hours of 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. Paving will take place all day on Saturday, December 3rd. So he asked me to share this information, and so it sounds like most of it will be night work, but Saturday might be a little hectic in that area. So if anybody is watching and they need to get through that, want to find an alternate route, the mayor has informed me that all the businesses along that stretch will be open though. So if you do need to head that way for a specific business, they will be open, but all the traffic, it would probably be easier if they avoided the area. So. And just a quick note, I had a discussion with the mayor today about this. This has nothing to do with the project that they're going to be doing next year. But the road is so bad in some areas there that they don't think it's going to survive another winter and get through another year. It's all broken up, especially down near areas near 740 Central Street, things like that. It's really bad, and if we have a bad winter, it's be a lot of potholes there and stuff. So they did secure some money to get that remedied so they can get them through till a permanent project is done. So is there any other new business? Seeing none, is there anything to come under the community calendar? Okay, seeing none, I will ask for a motion to adjourn in a second. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn in a second. So the city council meeting for November 28th, 2016 is now adjourned. Thank you all very much.